Hi everyone, this is TD back with a TD Reviews, this time of a card game by the name of Omen, Reign of War, as opposed to my typical video game reviews. Today we're going to talk about Olympus Edition, which is different from the original edition of Omen, Reign of War. It's gone relatively neglected on BoardGameGeek.com in terms of videos, so today we're going to do a review of it, and hopefully we're going to accomplish three things in this review. The first of which is to give you a very comprehensive overview of how to play the game and all the rules affiliated with it. The second of which is a good understanding of how the gameplay mechanics work and how the cards combo and interact with one another so that you can identify whether this is something you'd even like. And the last of which is simply my opinions on the game and the different elements within it. And we'll do that throughout the entire video so that you guys know what I personally think of it. So Omen, Reign of War is a two-player dueling card game in which people are vying for power over these three cities here in the middle. Okay, and there are a couple different ways in which you go about getting victory points, which ultimately whoever has the most points at the end of the game wins. The first of which is you have 6 feats down here at the bottom of your play area. They are identical between the two players, but each feat has a certain requirement that needs to be fulfilled in order to score for this feat. In the case of Ares' feat, you have to have 5 units in a single city in order to score this feat. If you have 5 units in a single city, you'll flip this face down, and at the end of the game, this will be worth 2 points. Okay, so you'd add up all your feats and you see how many points you have. But also, when you're vying for control over these cities, certain cities are going to become war-torn, they're going to have conflicts, and those conflicts will be resolved. The winner of those conflicts will get one of the reward cards from the city. They'll then put that in their hand. If you have any reward cards in your hand at the end of the game, these will be worth 2 points. However, you can play a rewards card from your hand for its one-time use ability, and then you'll place it face down. So you get the ability, but you put it face down, and the disadvantage of that is that this is now only worth 1 point. So it's an interesting dichotomy between, risk versus reward. Do I play this card to get its ability and lose the point, or do I keep it, don't take the ability, and still gain more points? Which is very interesting. So there are multiple different paths to victory, which is something that I like as well. And so that's ultimately how you win. You would add up all your points, figure out who has the most, and that person would be victorious. Now the game goes turn by turn between the two players, and each turn has got 6 different phases. The first phase is very simplistic. What it is it is a wealth phase. During your wealth phase, you have 3 actions. You can take these 3 actions to get either coins or cards to replenish your reserves. Here's my hand, and here are my resources and my coins, okay? So what I could do is I could take 2 coins, 1 card, or I could take 1 card and 2 coins, or if you chose, you could take 3 of the exact same action, and if you did that, you could get a 4th as a bonus. So I could take 3 cards and then get a 4th card as a bonus for doing all the same action. Well, I've got a bunch of good cards in my hand because I've rigged my hand, but I'm going to go ahead and take my 3 coins for my action and get my 4th as a bonus for that. Okay, the next thing you're going to do after your wealth phase is you're going to move into your surge phase. This is where you're going to play cards from your hand out into the battlefield or as special abilities and so on and so forth, and you're going to pay for them with your coins. So let's take a look at a card. Here I've got the Lady of Glory. It's got a title. You've also got a card type. In this case, it's a soldier. Most importantly is these numerical values here. The first of which is how much this card costs to play. So in the case of this card, it would cost me 2 of those coins to play this card. The next of which is how much attack value it'll give me when a city is war-torn. So when a city becomes war-torn, and we'll get more to this later, you will add up all the attack value from your creatures, compare it with your opposing player. Whoever has the most attack value will get the reward from the reward pile. The last thing is the blue circle, which is the offering value that this card will give you. So at the very end of your turn, there is an offering phase. And during the offering phase, you can sacrifice a creature, essentially put it in the discard pile, and you will gain coins or cards or a combination of the two equal to whatever this offering value is. So during my surge phase, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to pay 2 coins, and I'm going to play this Lady of Glory. And this is where we'll get into the gameplay elements of the game. So the Lady of Glory is a soldier, and all soldiers have a when this soldier enters a city ability. In this case, it says you may move one of your soldiers from a different city into this city. Well, I'm going to go ahead and play her into this city, and the reason being is that currently I know this city will become war-torn at the end of my turn. Fortunately, my opposing player has let me go on the defensive and has let me have a chance to build up an army over here. Because what they currently have is they have 2 beasts in their city. Each beast is worth 2 units in a city because they are very large creatures, whereas soldiers and oracles are each worth 1 unit in a city. If on your turn an opposing player has got 3 units or more in a city, this city will become war-torn at the end of your turn. Okay, and we'll get more to this later. So I put her out there and she says you can move a soldier from another city into her city. So I'm going to move this guy into this city. Interesting thing about soldiers is that whenever they enter a city or whenever they move from one city to another city, which is technically entering a new city, you activate their ability again. So this guy says you may discard a beast card from your hand, and if you do, use the discarded beast's ability. Well, fortunately, I do have a beast right here, right? And here's an interesting thing about beasts. And this is a recurring theme within this game, is you can play cards in a multitude of ways. So you can play them for their offering value. In the case of beasts, you can either play the beast as just a massive beast creature that has a tremendous attack value, or you can pay this beast cost and discard it and then get a very advantageous special ability, okay? Well, what I'm going to do is, since he says I have to discard my beast card to get its ability, I'm going to discard the ability. I get to play it for free, basically. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to name soldiers or oracles and move all units of the name type from each city to the discard pile. Well, I've noticed over here that my opponent has got an oracle in this city, but he doesn't have one in that city just yet. So he's got 2 of the 3 cities, and one of these feats says if you have an oracle in each city, you're going to go ahead and get that accomplishment or that feat, and you're going to get 2 points at the end of the game. So I don't have any oracles out here, so I think it would be very advantageous for all players and all oracles in all cities to be discarded, because this guy says I can choose oracles or soldiers and discard all of those cards. So he just discarded 2 cards from his play area, and that's going to become important because I've got a feat out here that says if I make my opponent place 3 cards in the discard pile, I'm going to accomplish this feat. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to play another soldier. He costs 1 coin, and this soldier simply says when he enters a city, as all soldiers say, the opposing player reveals his hand, and the opposing player then chooses and discards 1 card. I'm going to go ahead and put him in this middle city since I no longer have a soldier in there. My opposing player would reveal his hand, and then he would be forced to discard a card. I've now forced him to discard 3 cards, therefore I have fulfilled this feat, and we'll get to that in just a second. Now, beasts, if you remember, I can either play them for just their raw creature attack value out in a city, or I could use them as their special ability. Well, right now my opponent has got 9 attack value. I don't have 9, so I think I want to go on the offensive, and I'm going to go ahead and put this beast in this city right here. So I'm going to pay 2, and I'm going to play this beast in this city. The last thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to play an oracle, and as you can tell, oracles have very little attack value, but they do have a nice little portent bonus that I'm going to get to in just a second. I'm going to pay the $2 for this oracle. I'm going to put it in this city as well. If you'll notice, I have a soldier, oracle, and a beast, which means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units in this city, which means I'm also going to accomplish this feat. Fortunately, I also have a soldier in each city, so I will also accomplish this feat in my feat phase. Now that I've finished playing all my cards and depleted all my coins, I'm going to go ahead and go to my portent ability. This is where oracles become really important, because during the portent phase, every oracle that you have has a portent step ability. In this case, this one has a draw 1 card, then reveal the top card of the deck. If an oracle is revealed, gain 2 coins. So you're going to go from oracle to oracle on your side and activate their ability. It's very interesting the way that the different cards play, because soldiers have an ability that activates when they come into a city or when they move cities. Beasts only have an ability if you discard them, and oracles have an ability that activates every single turn, so you can manipulate the way that they're played, which is very unique. So I'm going to go ahead and draw her card. And I got another oracle, put it in my hand, and then I'm going to reveal a card, and if it was an oracle, I would gain 2 coins. Unfortunately, it wasn't. It was a soldier, so I just straight up discard it. Now I would go on to my feat phase. So we already talked about, I made them discard 3 cards, I have 5 units in a city, and I have 1 soldier in each city. So in 1 turn, I've showed you the combinations and interactions that you can have amongst cards, and I've gotten 3 feats in a single turn, which is 6 points at the end of the game. So the next thing that we would do is we would go to the war phase, and during the war phase, you're going to look at all 3 cities and see which cities are war-torn. In this case, my opposing player had 3 or more units in their city, therefore this is war-torn. But there are other conditions that might make this war-torn as well. So for example, maybe if they didn't have 3 units in a city, they only had 2 units, because that's a beast, which is worth 2 units, this technically wouldn't become war-torn. But there's another requirement. If a city ever has 5 units total or more in the city, it will automatically become war-torn at the end of that player's turn. So I've got 5 units, plus there 2, that's 7 units, that's more than 5, this will become war-torn and thus has to be resolved. As it stands though, there's 9 total units. You can only have a maximum of 5 units on your side at any given point in time. You can never go higher than that. So even if, let's say, they had no units in their city and I had 5, this would still become war-torn at the end of my turn and I would win the war. So now that I've identified that this is war-torn, we go ahead and resolve it. I resolve this. I resolve this. I add up our attack values, 3, 6, 10, 11. They have got 5 plus 4 is 9. Therefore, I have more attack value. I would win this city. So I would get a rewards card, and I would put that in my hand. Okay. Now, there's advantages and disadvantages of going on the offensive. The advantages, obviously, I got points in that rewards card, and I can use this ability later. But the disadvantages is that I'm going to lose cards because they're going to die due to this conflict. And so, as the attacker, I have to go down to 1 unit alone in this city. So I would discard all 3 of these cards. My opposing player, the defender, the person that had lost, only has to discard down to 2 units. So they would lose 1 guy, and they would be down to 2 units with that beast. The last thing that you have is you would go to your offering phase. So I've got an oracle sitting in my hand that's got an offering value of 4. So I'm going to go ahead and sacrifice it or offer it, and I'm going to get 4 coins equal to its 4 up there, and prepare myself for next turn, where during my wealth phase I'm going to get 3 cards and get a 4th as a bonus. So once you've done all 6 of your phases, turn will pass to the other player, and it'll keep going back and forth until either 2 of these 3 city decks are depleted, there's 4 cards in each, or somebody has completed 5 out of the 6 feat cards sitting out in front of them. At that point in time, you'll add up your points and see who has the most. Now, what I really like about Omen, Reign of War is a few different things. The first of which is the artwork on the cards and the theme really shines through, and I think that's in multiple ways. You know, one, obviously the art is very, very good and helps with the theme, but also soldiers play like soldiers, oracles play like oracles, and beasts play like beasts, and that's very important because it feels true to its own game. So the production values are very good, and also they give you these extremely nice coins that have got their logo stamped on it, and they're made out of metal, which is above and beyond what you needed to do, rather than, you know, just giving us cardboard cutouts or punch outs. So that's very nice. People who like Magic the Gathering are going to love this game because it gives you that combo and interaction with card play that Magic the Gathering gives you, but there are a couple advantages here in the sense that, you know, you don't have mana block. You don't have somebody who spent $1 million on their deck and just bought the best cards, so they just automatically win because they have the best deck. So there's an inherent issue in the fact that there's some randomness in drawing cards, and you could be lucky or unlucky in the cards that you draw. But fortunately, as you could tell, cards can be played in so many different ways, and they interact and really feed off one another in so many different ways that really they're well balanced enough to where that should never be an issue. And if you lose 9 times out of 10, it's not because you didn't draw the right cards, it's because you didn't play the right cards in the right way or use them in the right manner to get more cards or get more money. It's a very well balanced game that I think it's hard pressed to find a flaw in, especially when you have multiple paths to victory. If you're not drawing enough cards to go for attack value, well, whatever, just go and try to accomplish these feats. So it does have that diversity in it. I think the other thing is that the game comes with 2 expansions already in the game. The first of which is this spirit card deck, which you can add to the shared common deck here, and they have this unique invoke ability here, and I'll leave that as a surprise for when you open up the full game. And also you have heroes, which as well are very interesting, and they add an extra layer of complexity and uniqueness to the game, so that once you've played a few times, you'll have something to liven up the experience and extend the gameplay even further. Not to say that it doesn't have longevity as is, because it has plenty of longevity. There are no duplicate cards in this edition of Omen, A Reign of War. Each one of these cards is a unique card, and I really like that about the game, because there's, you know, give or take 100 cards in the deck, maybe a little less. So you're going to see a lot of cards out there. If anything about this game has intrigued you, I would highly suggest you pick it up. This is a solid 9 out of 10, if not 9.5, 10 out of 10 for me. The production values are out the roof. It's quick to play, easy to learn, and yet doesn't sacrifice any intellectual or strategic depth whatsoever. It's really a very, very well-made game that I can't recommend enough. So Omen, A Reign of War, especially the Olympus edition, pick it up. It is what I believe the definitive edition of the game. If you have any questions, shoot me over a comment, an email, a message, what have you, and I will be sure to answer them. So for now, you guys have a good one, and this was a TD review of Omen, A Reign of War.